Hello and welcome to Clearview News Desk. We are reaching you live from Nigeria's capital city, Abuja. I am Gloria Atta. Welcome. Veteran journalist Jimmy Disu has cautioned the former Labour Party presidential candidate, Peter Obi, against accepting a vice presidential slot from his counterpart in the People's Democratic Party, Atiku Abubakar. Reacting to reports that Obi agreed to the vice president's slot with Atiku in ongoing coalition discussions, Disu said the vice president is a spare tire with no statutory powers in Nigeria's constitution. However, Obi had denied such reports, saying he's part of the coalition to fight bad governance, poverty, and other challenges faced by Nigerians. Meanwhile, Nigeria's Senate President Godswill Akpabio has responded to critics who claim the 10th National Assembly lacks the independence of its predecessors, particularly the assertive 8th Assembly. In a broadcast message, Akpabio dismissed the rubber stamp label, arguing that the priority of the Assembly is fostering political stability and supporting good governance, adding that the alignment between the legislative and executive arms offers the country an unprecedented level of cohesion and understanding.
When you are elected into the National Assembly, whether in the Senate or the House of Representatives, your constituents will not give you gloves to go and start boxing. It's not a boxing tournament. It's not. You are there to work in a bipartisan manner for the interests of Nigeria. You are not there to fight the executive. If you spend all your energy fighting the executive, then who will work for Nigeria? So I believe we've had a very cordial relationship, and particularly with a president who understands the parliament. A president who has been a senator, the wife has been a senator, the vice president has been a senator, and then, of course, in the Senate, we couldn't have had it better. This is probably the best times for the Nigerian Senate to have people. You know, it took America over 180 years to produce a president and a vice president. I think that was President Kennedy and Lyndon Johnson also in the White House. But it has taken Nigeria less than 24 years to produce President Tinubu and a former senator, and then Kashim Shettima, a former senator. It's not easy. And then to cap it all, the First Lady of the Federation, another, once a senator, always a senator, a former senator. So for us, it's not a period, it's a period for collaboration.
Akpabio made the comments following public debate over the Assembly's perceived alignment with President Bola Tinubu's administration. Critics have pointed to the 9th Assembly, led by Ahmed Lawan, which was widely criticized for failing to check executive excesses, as a cautionary tale. However, Akpabio has insisted that the 10th Assembly is committed to reforms, including prison decongestion and expediting justice, while maintaining a harmonious relationship with the executive. The Senate President highlighted the Assembly's readiness to work with President Tinubu's administration, praising its proactive approach to Nigeria's challenges. A protest has erupted in Makurdi, the Benue State capital, following the reported killing of Emmanuela Ahenjir, a 23-year-old final-year student of the Federal University Wukari, by police personnel. Emmanuela was allegedly shot dead last Friday morning by unidentified police officers at the Wurukum roundabout while driving in a vehicle coming from the Giado Villa area of the town. The incident, which has sparked widespread outrage, has drawn protesters, mostly youths, to the streets, led by prominent gender rights activist Ukan Kurgu. The demonstrators gathered in large numbers at the Wurukum roundabout, wielding placards with inscriptions such as "End Police Brutality" and "Justice for Emmanuela." The protesters are demanding a thorough investigation and immediate action from the authorities. Meanwhile, a lecturer of Lagos State University, Professor Abani Konda, has been accused of allegedly forcing final-year students to sleep on school farms for weeks while subjecting them to hard labor like prisoners. The students have reportedly been subjected to this degrading condition for about a month. The report.
In a viral video, the students were seen living under tarpaulin-like shelters in open fields, with no proper bedding or sanitation. The final year students of the Faculty of Agriculture at Lagos State University, LASU, Ekpe campus, claimed they were abused, cursed, and threatened with failure, with threats of manipulating their results. Recall that the National Association of Nigerian Students had staged a protest last week over injustice and misuse of power in the case of Dr. Anthony Agbegbedia, a staff member of the Department of Peace and Conflict Studies at the Federal University of Oye-Ekiti, who was alleged to have sexually harassed a female student and deliberately failed her after she refused to submit to his immoral demands. According to the students, the incident has instilled fear on those who now feel trapped in an environment of intimidation. The Vice Chancellor of Lagos State University, Professor Ibiyemi Olatunji, however, acknowledged the situation and promised swift action. Abiola Alafe reporting for Clever News.
A member of the House of Representatives, Iduma Igariwe, has called for the cancellation of the 2025 Unified Tertiary Matriculation Examination (UTME), citing what he described as a catastrophic institutional failure that has compromised the integrity and fairness of the process. Igariwe described the decision to reschedule the examinations within 48 hours as unreasonable and poorly thought out.
According to Igariwe, the recent admission of error in the conduct of the 2025 UTME by the Joint Admissions and Matriculation Board, JAMB, was not enough to justify continuing with the entrance test, stating that the integrity of the entire examination process has been compromised. He noted that reports from across the Southeast indicated that many candidates could not access their designated centers due to abrupt rescheduling and confusion over logistics. He further condemned the decision of JAMB to do a receipt of the exam in a rush without taking proper evaluation of what was involved. Meanwhile, there are indications that members of the House of Representatives are divided over the call for the resignation of the registrar of the examination body, Professor Isaac Oloyede. This came to the fore when members of the House Committee on Basic Education Examination Bodies, led by Oboku Ofoji, at a press conference on Tuesday, remarked that Oloyede should be left to take the decision to resign from his position based on moral grounds.
The committee recognized the courage and sincerity of JAMB Registrar Professor Isaac Oloyede for accepting the fault on behalf of his team and apologizing to the parents, candidates, and the nation in general. This human error were avoidable because it was out of negligence by JAMB. The committee also appreciates the eagerness, the determination of Nigerian students in pursuing their education to improve the future of our country. JAMB has consistently made effort throughout the examination process, from registration to the release of results. Unfortunately, error which can arise unexpectedly occur this time.
However, the committee's position is in sharp contrast to the stance taken by the Southeast Caucus of the House of Representatives, led by Igariwe, which insisted on the resignation of the JAMB registrar to pave the way for a thorough examination to address the root causes of what it termed a national shame. Meanwhile, JAMB has made known its intention to release the results of the students who had a receipt for the examination on Wednesday. Abiola Alafe reporting for Clever News.
The Borno State Governor, Babangana Zulum, has alleged that some Nigerian politicians and members of the armed forces are acting as informants and collaborators for Boko Haram insurgents. Zulum made the revelation this Wednesday during a television interview where he vowed that the state would strengthen its intelligence network and deal with saboteurs ruthlessly. Addressing the issue of surrendered insurgents, Zulum stated that while not all who surrendered have reformed fully, the overwhelming majority are contributing positively. The governor reaffirmed the need for Nigeria to embrace both kinetic and non-kinetic strategies in tackling insurgency, noting that over 99% of repentant insurgents are no longer involved in terrorism. Now, Justice Simon Aboki of the Nasarawa State High Court sitting in Lafia has fixed 26 June 2025 for judgment in the case of Timileyin Ajayi, the alleged killer of Salome Adaidu, a female corps member. The date was fixed during Monday's proceedings after counsels to the prosecution and defendants submitted their final written addresses. We have the details. Upon resumption of the Nasarawa State High Court sitting in Lafia, the trial judge earlier stood down the matter when the case was mentioned to enable the defense counsel to announce his appearance in court. The defense counsel, Joseph Tuku Bison, subsequently submitted his final written address and prayed the court to discharge and acquit Timileyin Ajayi for failure of the prosecution counsel to prove its argument beyond reasonable doubt that Timileyin killed Salome Adaidu. In his response, the prosecution counsel, Raymond Umaru, while adopting his final written address, urged the presiding judge to disregard the prayer of the defendant and give mandatory punishment to the defendant as enshrined in the law. In his ruling, Justice Simon Aboki commended all the counsels involved in the matter for their resilience in pursuing justice and adjourned the sitting for 26th of June for final judgment in the case. In an interview, the prosecution counsel, Raymond Umaru, expressed satisfaction with the ongoing trial.
Well, our prayer is for the court to, apply the established principle of law in cases like this, and then convict the defendant and then impose the maximum and mandatory sentence provided by law.
On his part, counsel to Timileyin Ajayi, Joseph Bisong, said he sought for two relief from the court to ensure that due process is followed in the prosecution of the case.
Our prayer to the court is that the judge, based on the evidence before him, should discharge and acquit the defendant.
The accused, Timileyin Ajayi, a gospel singer, was cited praying in the courtroom. And that's the news. You can follow up on latest events and happenings around you via our social media platforms on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube at Clearview News Desk or via our handle on X, formerly known as Twitter, at Clearview Online. Thanks for joining us. I am Gloria Atta. Bye for now.